Sheriff. Appreciate that very kind. Who's our invocation? Number 11. All right, we'll recognize District 11 for the invocation and pledge to the flag.
Thank you. Bow your heads, please. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we just thank you, Lord, for all that you do for us. We are a blessed county, and we are blessed to be able to do good work and to come together and to make positive changes for our county. Lord, we just thank you for that. We thank you for allowing us to live in such a beautiful place and to be able to help the members of our community. And Lord, I just thank you for all that you do. And in Jesus' name, we just pray that you'd guide our meeting tonight and be over it and help us to make good decisions as we go forward this evening. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. Let's see if I can find the sheriff or pretty young. Let me say, folks, welcome. We're glad to have each of you with us tonight. Certainly the most important night of your county commission every year becomes budget night. That's tonight. We're glad to have you. It's what you elected these people up here to do, is to determine how much money we were going to get and how much we were going to spend. That's been done through the budget committee. Tonight your full commission will take that issue up and make a determination. So we're glad you're here. I appreciate people who do special things, and I can't help but recognize Daryl and Amy Ginger tonight. Back when our tornado hit, they opened their home to their neighbors who had been affected and who medically needed help for triage. I don't know how long they did that, but they were there, and those neighbors were welcomed until somebody could take over that job. So I want to say thank you to you. We're appreciative of that. It was a devastating thing for our county, and we had people like that stepped up. Thank you. I'd be remiss if I said that's what they came for. I don't know why they're here, but I sure could not see them there and remember that. Again, we'll get started, and I guess the next thing is, Mr. Neighbors, you need to call the roll.
We do. Ladies and gentlemen, if you take your handsets and press yes for me, just press yes, and it will stop you right there. Mr. Chairman, all 24 members are present tonight. There is a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item number 5 is the approval of our agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
A motion and a second on the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none. In favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 6, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second on the minutes. Any discussion? In favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 7 is unfinished business. We'll start with the report of standing committees. Planning.
No unfinished business.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Fiscal review.
No unfinished business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And nominating.
No unfinished business.
Thank you, sir. Report of special committees. We're going to consideration of the budget. Putnam County fiscal year 21-22 county budget presented by the Budget Committee. Mr. Chair, Mr. Ben Rogers, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing I want to do is thank the Budget Committee for their work this year. They put in a lot of hours, a lot of good discussion, a lot of good questions, and just want to thank their participation and the effort they gave to us as a commission, as a county. Those members are Mike Atwood, Jim Martin, Jimmy Neal, Kim Bradford, Jonathan Williams, Terry Randolph, Chris Cassidy, and Darren Wilson. So thank you, folks, for all the help you did. Made my job easier. So historically, we as a commission have approved the budget by fund, each fund that is, and we do have several in Putnam County, and we get motions on all those funds, and we approve those, and then we'll move into the resolutions. So I will start with the general fund, and you got your budget last week. I also know you got an email, I think the day after maybe, of the schools and highway department, so you've had your materials. If you got questions, you can ask at the motion and discussion. I'll let Mr. Chairman handle that, but you have the information. So we'll start with general fund. Fund 101 has proposed a tax rate of 83.3 cents. The total appropriation for that fund is $45,688,843, and I so move.
Got a motion and a second on Fund 101. Any discussion? Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you favor the motion, take your handsets and vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Now, tonight, Ms. Tays cannot vote on this one because she works for the county. Anyone else, any situation? I think she's the only one. Then when we get to school, general purpose school, then Ms. Bradford and Chairman Atwood have to abstain. All right, so just Ms. Tays abstain. All right, all votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. And this is going to take just a little bit because I'm going to make some good notes as we go along, guys. I do not want to mess this up. Mr. Chairman, you have 21 voting yes, 2 voting no, 1 abstain, 0 absent. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Next fund is Fund 116, Solid Waste Sanitation Fund. Proposed tax rate is 14.6 cents. Total appropriations are $5,934,758, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion, second. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you favor the motion, take handsets and vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Mr. Christopher. Is it trying to act up on you? Okay. Take the battery out and put it right back in. See if that, sometimes they're a little bit awkward job there a little bit. Bingo. Thank you, sir. All right, you just need a little refreshing. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere, ladies and gentlemen? All right. All right, Mr. Chairman, you have 22 voting yes, 2 voting no, 0 absent, 0 abstain. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next fund is Fund 119, Industrial and Economic Development Fund. Proposed tax rate of 1.6 cents. Appropriations of $779,975, and I so move.
Motion and a second. Economic development. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Clerk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you take your handsets, you favor the motion, vote yes. If you not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. There you go. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, I have 22 voting yes, 2 voting no, 0 absent, 0 abstain. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next fund we will vote on will be Fund 121. It's a special purpose fund. This is Archives and Records Management. There is no property tax rate in this fund. The appropriations are $98,000 and $260. I so move.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. Do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. Mr. Ford. There you go. Thank you, sir. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, you have 23 voting yes, 1 voting no, 0 absent, 0 abstain. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next fund is the Fund 122 Drug Control Fund. There is no property taxes into this fund. The appropriations is $300,000, and I so move.
Motion and a second on the drug fund. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Clerk.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, again, you take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. You're doing great. I appreciate it. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Well, Mr. Chairman, I have all 24 voting yes, 0 no. That motion carries, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We move on to Fund 123 Sports and Recreation. Proposed tax rate of 3.4 cents. Appropriations of $1,330,170, and I so move.
Got a motion second on sports, Rick? Any discussion? Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, again, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Mr. Chairman, I have 22 voting yes, 2 voting no, 0 abstain, 0 absent. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We're now at Fund 128. This is the Veterans Building Fund. We do not budget revenue here because it's all contributions and gifts, so we don't know what to budget, but we do get contributions and gifts every year. So Fund 128, Veterans Building Fund, total appropriations for this fund is $700, and there are no taxes in this fund, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please take your handsets. You're doing wonderful tonight. Favor the motion, vote yes. Do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Well, Mr. Chairman, you have all 24 voting yes, 0 no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We are now at Fund 131, the Highway Department Fund. Proposed tax rate of 10.1 cents, appropriations of $5,500,000, $355,995, and I also move.
Got a motion second on the road fund. Any bit discussion? Mr. Donadio.
Just a quick question. What does that change from last year on the roads fund?
As far as dollars or as far as contribution?
The rate.
So last year's rate for roads was 12.5 cents. It's now 10.1.
Okay, gotcha. Make sure my math added up. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For those that don't understand, that's the growth, same amount of money. Hope you understand. Okay, does that make sense? Mr. Chair, did I explain that correctly?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other discussion on the road fund? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you take your handsets, in favor of the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Chairman, I have 22 voting yes, 2 voting no, 0 abstain, 0 absent. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We are now at the General Purpose School Fund, Fund 141, proposed tax rate of 83.6 cents. Appropriations total $97,989,924, and I so move.
Got a motion and a second on general purpose school. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
Wow.
Mike, it's the same question as Mr. DiNardo had. What is the difference from last year to this year?
So the property tax rate in General Purpose School Fund was 97 cents last year. This year's proposed at 83.6 cents. And again, that's due to reappraisal. The drop.
Does that take care of Mr. Wasson? You good? All right. Mr. Neighbors. And Ms. Bradford, you and I must abstain. Okay.
Also, yeah, Mr. Commissioner Holmes, his wife works for the school system. So
Okay. All right.
He'll abstain
That's
as well.
right. That's right.
She's so glad to do that, Courtney.
Yeah. Does she work and make the living, and you make her life worth living? Is that, okay, I thought that's right. So all three of y'all abstain. All right, if you'll do that.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, sorry.
my wife works for adult education,
Okay, then you must abstain as well,
I guess.
because there's funding in here. So the 4 of you all, go ahead and just press abstain. The rest of you, if you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Y'all remember, we used to do the direct and indirect, and that stopped when it did something a little bit different there now with the abstaining. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Seventeen votes for, have 3 noes, 4 abstains. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Let me add, if you don't care, Mr. Chairman, on the abstention of any vote. The law did change 5 years ago, I believe it was, and the vote is now if a commissioner is an employee in a fund or their spouse is an employee of a fund that we're voting on and they stand to receive a raise in this budget,
Right.
then there's an abstention required. So that's why, in case those are in the audience that maybe not understand that, if a commissioner or their spouse stands to get a raise by voting on a budget, they have to abstain. So, thank you. Okay, moving on to Fund 142. This is the federal projects for the school system. There's no tax rate in the federal projects. It's all federal money. And the total appropriations for that is $9,743,097, and I also move.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Mr. Neighbors. Where can you?
Now, all of you all can vote on this one.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody. All right, here we go. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. All right, Mr. Chairman, you have 23 voting yes, 1 abstain, and zero absent, 0 no's. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Fund 143, Central Cafeteria Fund of the schools. There's no property tax dollars going in this fund. The total appropriations, $1,377,470, and I so move.
Second.
A motion is second, and everybody can vote, even those school folks. So any discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Well, Mr. Chairman, all 24 votes yes, 0 no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We are now at Debt Service Fund, Fund 151, proposed tax rate of 49 cents, appropriations of $20,257,223, and I so move.
Second.
Motion is second on debt service. Any discussion? All agreeable tonight, folks. That's great. All right, Mr. Clerk.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, you have 21 voting yes, 2 voting no, 1 abstain, 0 absent. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Hold on just a second. We need to do Fund 146 too, don't we, for schools? Yes. I don't have the appropriations with me, so you have it marked. Sorry about that. Let's move on while you're getting that. Next fund is thank you. Next fund is 171 Capital Projects. Property tax proposed of 1.6 cents. Appropriations is $10,998,000, and I so move. This is capital projects.
Got a motion second on the capital projects. Any discussion?
Yes, I do.
Joe, punch your button if you will. Let's use the equipment we got. It helped me. I
There you go.
appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Joe Watterson. You're recognized.
Mr. Mayor, can you please tell us what's involved with some of these capital projects?
You should have a list in your packet of the capital projects for this year. We're doing the, hang on a second, I'll read them to you. We are doing starting a replacement of the two-way radios for the emergency departments, vehicles, roofs. We're doing the maintenance, doing we just bid out the Justice Center. We're doing Avery Trace, Upperman and Baxter, the high school in Baxter. There's a whole list of them that you should have that was put out in your packets.
So is any of this coming from any of the federal grant money?
No. We're waiting on, and I know what you're talking about, Commissioner Watson, that's the American Rescue Funds. We're waiting on the final ruling to come from the feds on that. We're hearing it's going to be in September. So I'll be coming back to you with those projections and projects that we'll be looking at. It's going to be very limited as what we can spend it on, but looking at water, broadband, and those kind of things out in the county.
Anything on the capital list that potentially it might be utilized for?
I don't think so. It's very limited. The schools has a lot more flexibility on some of their stuff that they can use it for, but we're pretty limited as far as what we're going to be able to use the money for.
Thank
Does that answer your question?
you. Yes, sir.
And if I can, let me say this, and Mr. Mayor, Mr. Roger, correct me if I'm wrong. The capital projects, this is a budgeted item, and in the past, prior to reappraisal, it was 2 cents. So you see it's gone down from what it was last year as a result of the reappraisal. You follow me? So this number is less than it was last year. And if you remember, we moved money from time to time to the capital projects in order to accomplish some of the things that the mayor was talking about. But this particular budget item only generates, what is it, 200 and how much, 11 is the penny rate? 211 plus 0.6. So the budget is only generating $350,000 toward capital projects. Do you look at me? Do you understand what we're saying? Okay, I just wanted to make it that clear because it can be confusing. Yes, Mr. Jordan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also for the mayor as well, too, I know back when we came in almost 7 years ago, there was a lot of projects that we had to tackle, kind of going back along to what Chairman Atwood was saying, too. Now, looking out the next year, 2, 3 years down the road, are we down on the downhill slide? Because we've had a lot of projects to tackle, almost all the roofs. I think you mentioned already that most of our roofs, if not all, are done with this budget. But as we go forward, are we pretty well on the downhill slide on projects upcoming? Do we see ourselves kind of taking a little bit more of a lull on a lot of the major projects for a few years there?
Absolutely. We've got most of the big roofs done. So capital projects as of right now for next year is estimated to be about 2.3 million compared to almost 11 million this year. So for the next few years, it should be a lot lower numbers. We got most of all those roofs done.
I want to thank you and, of course, all those that I served on the budget committee, I know, for 3 out of these last 7 years, and I know we've had a lot of projects to tackle, so I want to thank you for your diligence and everyone else that's involved, too. Thank you.
Let me say one more thing. We'll vote, folks. Also, Jim, I appreciate you quoting me on some of the things I said. That's appreciative. But what I do want to say is this. The 5-year plan is how we establish those kind of knowledges. We know what our capital projects projection is for the next 5 years. It's a valuable tool that we have begun to utilize. So, when you have concerns about where we're headed, capital projects, I don't care what it is, remember, you got a 5-year plan. All you got to do is refer to it. You'll see what the vision is established by the department head. So, a vital tool. So I appreciate that. Any more discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
All right, seeing none, if you take your handsets, if you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All right, all votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right, Mr. Chairman, I have 23 voting yes, 1 voting no, 0 abstain or absent. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Fund 146, Extended School Program Budget, 0 property tax dollars, appropriations of $1,377,470, and I so move.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Again, school folks, you can vote. So, Mr. Neighbors.
Everybody can get in on this one. All right, take your handsets. You favor the motion? Vote yes. You're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, I have all 24 voting yes, 0 no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. one more fund before we get to resolutions. Fund 359, Community Development Agency Planning. Zero property tax dollars into this one. Appropriations of $145,150, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
Ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. You favor the motion, vote yes. Do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Excellent. Mr. Chairman, I have all 24 voting yes, 0 no, or abstain. That motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We are now to the resolution section. We have 5 to vote on. The first one we will vote on will be the property tax levy. In that resolution, you can see the total property tax levy is $2. It's $2.472. $2.472. General fund is .833. Sports and recreation is .034. General purpose school .836. Debt service .490. Industrial economic development .016. County road fund .101. Solid waste sanitation .146. And general capital projects .016. And I so move.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Everybody understand what you're voting on? Mr. Joe Iwataza.
I just have some points, points that I've had discussions with individuals in my district, in my community. One of them stopped me, said, we have increased traffic, increased issues, increased homelessness, and you want me to pay more. That's one point. I talked with citizens in my 10th district, especially my community, and they're not really for this, so I just want you to know that also. Another citizen asked me if there were discussions on ways to save money. And another one, Mr. Chair, just give me 1 second. I just want to read a letter that I received. It says, I'm a Cookeville native. My family, both immediate and extended, are all Cookeville natives. This is our home. For my family of 4, we own a small home just outside the city limits. It's not much, but it means the world to us. We brought our children home from the hospital to this home and are watching them grow faster than we like them in this home. We are a one-income family due to health problems, surgeries, etc. I've worked at my current job going on 12 years. For our household, every penny matters. Some months are easier than others. We have no choice but to be diligent and responsible with our finances, down to the last penny, to ensure we pay our bills and to provide the necessities for our children. It terrifies me that we may have to sell or lose our home out of no fault of our own, other than by simply being taxed out of it. As family budgets appropriately for their expenses, they cut, they trim, and save everywhere we possibly can to make ends meet. So, do county departments do that as well? Do they work to save? We hear about the list of expenses and the new items being asked for all the time. Well, what about their savings? Are departments challenged to show cost savings, or what about a plan to cut a certain percentage of their budget? Even if that number is small, are we truly showing ourselves as fiscally responsible if we don't work towards saving along with our spending? Think about your homeowners that are doing everything they can, living below their means, and barely making ends meet. You can plan to spend, but you can also show us how you plan to save. And maybe, just maybe, those savings within your departments might make it a little easier for those of us barely hanging on. So I just wanted to share that with everybody here. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Mr. Donadio.
I'm going to dovetail off of Commissioner Iwanison's statement, and that I've heard from a number of people in my district about their concerns of any kind of increase in property tax, and I understand that and I get that. What I also know the reality is there's this thing called inflation. We live in an inflationary time, not caused by us, but caused by Washington, D.C. The price of oil, the unmitigated printing of money, all of that is raising to the price of everything. We're having a hard time hiring workers at the lower within our county for when we're not paying that much different than McDonald's for somebody who's going to be dispatching. It's the same amount of pay. $11 an hour at McDonald's is $22,000 a year. Not that a 16-year-old is going to work 40 hours, but it's about what we pay a dispatcher. We can't hire them for that. What you can thank for that is inflation. You know who you can thank for that? You can thank Washington, D.C. and the unmitigated printing of money. The unfortunate thing is it's not our fault, but it is our problem. We have to have workers in the jail. We have to have a new jail. I don't want to build a new jail. I'd rather spend that money on another school. Unfortunately, that's the world that we live. And before we decide to vote no on this, I would challenge anybody who would vote no to give us an alternate plan. Give us something that we can work with so that a no vote gives me something to work with. Because I looked at this. For every $211,000, that would reduce it 1 penny. I can't find that money to cut, and I wish I could. Because if we can cut parts of recreation, and that would be fine. But then you're going to get upset when teenagers are doing things like getting in trouble. Okay? We could choose to not build a jail. Right now, is it nearly double capacity? We're at nearly double capacity. We are one mistake away. We are one fight where somebody gets injured away from a huge lawsuit and a federal judge telling us, oh, you will do this now. So I implore you, before you vote no, if you're going to vote no, please give us an alternative. Give me something to work with. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Mr. Nadia, Mr. Jordan, I want to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess we'll do a series of dovetails, too, because I do appreciate what both of our commissioners said, Joe Wannes and also Commissioner Donadio as well, too. And regarding that subject of inflation, of course, that affects everything, as we well know, the price of gas, price of milk, price of lumber. I mean, so many of the constituents, especially up in the district I represent, the university precinct, I'm thinking of Jerry Whitson and DeBerry Heights and those folks around there, around Tech and those areas, a lot of folks that are on fixed income. I keep hearing, too, about maybe at some point even giving a break to seniors for taxes, too, because I'm mindful of these folks, and I see them all the time in my line of work with financial services. They're coming in at the beginning of the month for their Social Security checks and just barely making it by. And, of course, the inflation is, I mean, it's something that it is completely out of our hands in a lot of ways because it's coming from Washington, but it's still there. And I'm mindful of those people, and not just DeBerry Heights and Jerry Whitson, Monterey, Baxter, all these other areas. Cane Creek areas, a lot of folks are fixed income, and so many other places too. And as part of representation, that's what we're here for, is to represent our constituents. But as part of that, and to vote my conscience, I will be voting no on the tax levy because I just don't. I'd rather let's see our growth take care of this imbalance that we have, and the growth is coming from here, from the other counties around us too. Events are coming back and everything too. So I would rather kind of take that risk, I think, and go on that whim of trying to make sure our growth takes care of this, so that way we can give a break to those folks who are struggling so much now. Thank you again, Mr. Chair, for the time to comment.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Most of you know that I hate tax increases. I do plan to vote in favor of this particular one, and I will tell you that the numbers that were put in the newspaper, which were accurate when compared to the certified rate and the rate that we're about to pass. But if you will look at what you paid for taxes last year as compared to what you will pay for taxes this year, I did my own home. My appraisal on my home went up $46,000. My increase in taxes from last year to what it will be this year with a 10-cent raise is $16 for the year. If my home goes up $46,000, I'm okay with spending an extra $16 for the year in order for the employees of this county to have what they need. I feel like that's a reasonable amount. When you look at the numbers, again, that were in the paper that we were given, and those were accurate numbers. I'm not saying they're not accurate, but sometimes people don't understand. That's not saying that if you have a $250,000 home, your taxes are going to go up $63 from last year. If you understand what I'm saying. It's a little bit confusing, but that's why I figured up my own. For a $46,000 increase, I will be paying $16 more. So there you go.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Neal.
What I want to say is Since 2015, Chief Tom Brown testified or came up here and talked to us in the Budget Committee. He's been asking for additional firemen. We've been turning him down. If I need a fire truck, I want to make sure there's going to be somebody that can man that truck and come to me. If I need an ambulance, or a friend of mine needs an ambulance, or a family member needs an ambulance, I want to know that there's going to be somebody there to drive that ambulance. And furthermore, I want to know that that ambulance is not going to break down on the way to me. And the same thing goes with the sheriff's office. If we need a deputy, we need them to be able to get to us. We don't need to be losing our personnel to other places. And we can very likely do that if we're not real careful. I want to thank Chairman Ben Rogers with the Budget Committee. As we were on this, we looked at this. We looked at it and we studied it. This is not something that we are exempt from ourselves. We have to pay these taxes also. The schools, if you go over there at Parkview and look at that school, kids shouldn't have to be over there. I mean, how do you tell those kids they have to be in that school when other kids have newer schools? This county is growing. We need to provide services. That's why I am in support of this budget.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As most of you know, it has been alluded to earlier, we are in an inflationary economy thanks to what's going on in Washington. Inflation right now is sitting at about 5%. The increase in our tax rate is going to be roughly 4%, maybe just a shade over 4%. So this 10-cent increase that we are about to levy does not even keep up with the rate of inflation. Yet, the value the taxpayers are going to get for those extra dollars is tremendous. And let me give you a partial list of what we're going to get for those extra dollars. We're going to get a brand new K through 8 school. We're going to get to expand the jail. That's something that's been needed for the past 15 years. We're going to get 3 additional firefighters, which is specifically going to help the Monterey and Bangham districts. So I just want you to keep in mind, if you vote no, this is what you're voting against. We're going to get an additional ambulance and crew to staff it. We're going to get raises for teachers and school employees. We're going to get raises for county employees. And these aren't big, hefty raises. These are just raises that are going to make our salaries a little bit more competitive and are going to help to keep up with inflation. We're going to also scale up our staffing in various county offices, including the clerks, parks and recs, and assessors. So if you have a $200,000 home, 10 cents is going to equal $50 a year, or $4.17 per month. And for those who are concerned, and it is a valid concern, I don't think anyone here wants to see anyone taxed out of their home. That's not what this is about. I would prefer that, I pay out of my pocket or something if I had to keep someone from that happening to. But the county does have a tax relief fund. If a person is really destitute, you can apply through the trustee's office, and there are programs out there to help you. So we don't want to see anyone lose their home over tax increase. So I just want to communicate to everyone, this is not just a tax increase for the sake of increasing taxes. None of us want to do that. But we are a growing county. We have to scale up our county services. And I feel confident that this is a budget that is careful with your tax dollars while meeting our growing county's needs. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Great comments. Anybody else? All right, folks, does everybody know what you're voting for? Voting for the new tax rate, 2.247, whatever it is. All right, Mr. Neighbors, let's do it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you favor the motion of the tax levy, vote yes. If you not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Does anybody want to change their vote anywhere? Mr. Chairman, have 19 voting yes, 5 voting no, 0 abstain or absent. Motion carries.
Wow. Okay, Commissioners, I appreciate that. Anything else, Mr. Chair? I'm sorry, you got some more resolutions.
I do, Mr. Chairman.
I apologize.
But you're welcome to go ahead.
No, let's get that done. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Thank you. The next resolution we will be voting on is the Appropriations Resolution, and I will not read every fund. I did the appropriations earlier, so that's why I did that. And I so move.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. In favor of the motion, vote yes. Or not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Mr. Chairman, we have 22 voting yes, 2 voting no. Motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next resolution will be the Nonprofit, Charitable, and Civic Organizations Resolution, and I so move.
Motion second on nonprofits. Any discussion? Mr. Donadio.
I just have a real quick question for Randy Porter. Can you explain the WCTE $12,000 that they're receiving?
Well, WCT is a big partner of ours when it comes to emergency services. We have a tower site that sits up beside theirs on Brotherton Mountain that they put up for us, and we have all of our radio networks on it, and we've always donated money back to them to help with that because they don't charge us anything for it.
So that's saving us quite a bit of money.
Oh, absolutely, a lot of money.
That's what I was just verifying. Thank you so much.
Any other questions, discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. In favor of the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, I have 21 voting yes, 3 noes, pardon me, total of 24, motion carries. That'll be all right.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The next resolution is the resolution rounding property tax amounts to the nearest dollar, and I so move.
Second.
Motion and a second on the rounding. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
There you go.
Magic fingers.
Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you're in favor of the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, you have 21 voting yes, 3 no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. One more resolution to vote on. Resolution for health care insurance coverage for retired employees and elected officials of Putnam County, Tennessee, and I so move.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Joe Iwatas.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, how does this benefit the citizens by, implementing this?
Well, it'll actually probably be a savings to the citizens, to the county in the long run. You have some employees that have passed their 30-plus years or the 25 if they're in sheriff's department or fire department that, because of the high cost of insurance, can't afford to retire. Should they retire with this benefit, and we pay that difference between until they get to Medicare age, if that person goes ahead and retires, you're going to hire a new employee in at a much lower salary. So I think in the long run for the cost, it's going to be a cost savings actually. And we're not trying to get rid of our long-term employees, but I think we do have some that have not retired because of that, because of this, and we think it'll be a good benefit to also help us attract future employees coming. Because our benefit package is one of the things that, even though our salaries may be lower, and we're trying to work on that to help fix that, and you've done some of that tonight, our benefits package is one of the things that attracts employees sometimes when the salary doesn't.
How many people are we looking at potentially?
I put 10 in the budget. I don't know of that many, but I wanted to be safe. I think you could see 3 or 4 or 5 maybe in the next few months retire because of it, but that's no way to, I'm estimating, that's all I'm doing. So it's a small amount of money to spend that I think in the long run will be savings to the county.
Okay. Mr. Donadio.
I just want to verify, this does not include members of this body as far as elected officials, correct?
Are you making a motion, sir?
No, you said elected officials. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that it's not county commissioners.
That
So you
is-
said elected officials.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you're making a motion.
No, absolutely
Oh,
not.
okay. Any other questions or discussion? Mr. Clark.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you're not in favor of the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? All right. Mr. Chairman, I'll have 23 voting yes, 1 no. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes Budget Committee and the fiscal year 21-22 budget.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rogers, Commissioner Rogers, Chairman Rogers. I don't know whether all you folks know how blessed we are to have Ben Rogers on our county commission because he brings a world of knowledge as it relates to county budgets and requirements. So, Ben, you do a great job. We appreciate you as chairing our budget committee. And I also want to say the same thing to our budget committee. Thanks for a job well done. We have got a new budget, and it's including a lot of things, but it's making a lot of progress as well. Mr. Porter, did you want to say something? Or? All right. Thanks again, folks, and great job. We'll move on. Item number 8 is new business. We'll start with planning.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Planning Committee agenda, we recommend approval of a list of 17 vehicles to be sold via internet public auction for the Sheriff's Department. We have a list of those vehicles, and I so move.
Second.
Got a motion second on the vehicles. Any discussion? Mr. Joel Waddleson.
I don't know, Sheriff or Mayor, are these vehicles end of life? So they're end of life. So we're looking at vehicles, what, 150,000, 200,000? So is that like the manufacturer's recommendation?
No, it's really just trial and error, and over the several years, by the time you put 125, 130,000 on them, driving emergency traffic, some of that time, they're just about done, and the maintenance increases just dramatically after that. So that's what we base it on.
Any other questions or discussion? In favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Fiscal review. I'm sorry, Madam Chair, was that it?
That concludes planning. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Fiscal review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We only have one item on the agenda. Fiscal Review Committee recommends approval of a resolution authorizing the issuance of general obligation public improvement bonds in Putnam County, Tennessee, in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $98 million in one or more series, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes, for the payment of principal, of premium, if any, and interest on the bonds, giving the county mayor the authority to sign all documents needed to complete this transaction, and I so move.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion, questions? Commissioner Donadio.
Just for those out there, these bonds are to cover the cost of the new jail and the new school they're going to have to be built. That's where this money is going to go, and that's why we're borrowing the money at these low interest rates. That's my only comment.
Thank you. Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm planning to vote in favor of this bond issue, but I do have to express my trepidation at maxing out our bonding capacity. And as a person who doesn't borrow money myself, it makes me a little sick to my stomach to borrow $98 million and pay back probably 123, 125, who knows how much. A lot of millions of dollars that could be used for the county, but we obviously need the jail. We obviously need a school. So I will vote in favor of this, but it kind of scares me to death, and I hope that for the next 4 or 5 years, when our bond payments are quite high, I hope that all of these people that are moving into our county and building new homes and properties are paying lots of taxes to cover all of this.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Joe Waddle.
Yes, sir, thank you. To the mayor, the effort of maintenance, when we start looking at both of these, construction projects, what are we looking at, for additional staff, employees?
That's probably 3 years out by the time you get the buildings built, and they'll be coming back. I think the sheriff and the schools director both addressed it at the work session the other night, that they will have to have some additional employees, but I don't want to speak for Mr. King, but I think most of your folks from Parkview is going to be moving to the new school, and if Sheriff wants to speak to that, I mean, it's probably 3 years out, you think?
What is your potential?
Initially, Commissioner, we're looking at about a 25% increase the first year. That's what history shows us over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years that jails has been built in Tennessee. Usually initially right off the bat is about a 25% increase in operation management. That will include some personnel as well as food and medical costs and those type of things.
And that was my next question. Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan Waddle.
Thank you. I simply want to add, hopefully by then we'll be able to more easily find employees to staff these places, because right now we all know it's a challenge. I'm working down Nashville now, and we're having a hard time finding staff down there to just on the entry level. So hopefully by then we'll have an easier time finding staff.
All right. Any other questions or discussion? All right, Mr. Neighbors.
Ladies and gentlemen, take your handsets. If you favor the motion, vote yes. If you do not favor the motion, vote no. Everyone, please vote. All votes are in. Anyone wish to change their vote anywhere? Chairman, I have 23 voting yes, 1 no, 0 absent or abstain. Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners. Big step.
Mr. Chairman, that completes fiscal review.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll move to nominating.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. This says to appoint members to the 2021 Redistricting Committee, but our charge at the last meeting was to bring names to the full commission for you to consider. So we have a list of names. We asked people if they were interested in being on this committee to submit their name to me via email or directly, and I have that list of names for you that I'll bring to you. We need 9 members, or that's what we proposed, was a 9-member committee made up of 1 person from the Election Commission, the commission chairperson, Mr. Atwood, and people from each of the cities. We only had one person that was submitted by the city of Cookeville. The other three, Allgood, Monterey, and Baxter, did not submit anyone to the mayor to be considered. The person from the city of Cookeville is John Ward. The other names submitted to me is Cindy Adams, Kathy Dunn, Adam Johnson, H.A. Donadio, Jimmy Neal, Jonathan Williams, Bob Duncan, Bruce Bailey, Tyler Asher, and Ron Chaffin. So there is your list of people who have submitted their request to be considered by the full commission for this committee. And I just submit those. I can say so moved and get a second, and then the floor is open for it. So I will, I move to.
If I may, Mr. Chair, being a member of nominating, let me express exactly what I feel like came out of nominating tonight. We were asked to present a structure or how this appointment or these appointments would be made. That we took up last month. We brought that back, but we never did approve or validate that recommendation. It looks and appears that was a good thing, because we didn't get a response from three cities that at that point we had recommended maybe doing. So, having said that, tonight the nominating committee's structure to come out of that committee to be considered by this full commission is that there be a 9-member committee, that 3 of those members be the election administrator, Mr. John Ward, because he was presented by the city as requested, and the third one would be the chairman of the county commission. That leaves 6 members to be determined to fill the 9-member committee. From the list, did everybody get a list? Do you?
No, Mr. Neighbors has one. No.
Okay, I will be happy to read those. Back to my initial point, what came out of nominating tonight was structure of 9. 3 of them already be in the 3 that I mentioned, and that the other 6 be elected by this body. The first 6 members of the list who get 13 votes will be added to that 9-member committee. Is everybody understanding what I'm saying? You have a list, and did you read it all?
They didn't get a list.
I'm sorry?
They don't have a list.
Okay, I understand you don't. We're going to take care of that, but do you understand the structure? I guess that's the first thing we need to discuss is the structure. Are you happy with the structure of what's come out of nominating? That's the first place to go. And I've got Commissioner Donadio with a question.
First question, taking off the names that we already have, yourself, how many names are left from nominating? And so that leaves 6 members for the board. How many names are on there? Because I wasn't keeping track. Besides the ones, so there's 10 for 6 spots.
There are 10. That would be correct.
Okay, I just thought Mr. Neighbors back there.
Under normal elections, everybody's put up. The fewest vote getters are eliminated until you have 6 people that get 13 votes. So you just keep shortening the list until you get to 16 with 13. That's the structure we're recommending. Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it's all going to work out this year. As you know, I have expressed my concerns about the format or the structure of this committee. I do think it's all going to work out, but I'm going to throw this idea out there because this is something that only comes up once every 10 years. So 10 years from now, there may be a bunch of us who are not here. I think this is something that should be handled. This should be spelled out in our county commission's rules so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel every 10 years. Personally, I would like to see something where you have 3 members appointed by the county mayor who are not commissioners. You have 3 members appointed by the chairman who are commissioners, and you'd have 3 more elected at large by the commission. But again, that's just a suggestion for rules. I don't know if it's appropriate, but since we've got 6 more positions to fill, and we've got 6 commissioners who are wanting those positions. Am I in order to just make a motion that we appoint all 6 of those?
Second.
I know we've got to go through and vote, but
Point
that's,
of order, Mr. Chairman, we don't have a second on the original motion that came out of,
Do we have a motion?
yeah.
I was explaining the structure. So to answer all the questions, no, at this point, unless our chairman wants to so move, my understanding, and correct me, there were 5 members of the nominating committee. That's what came out of committee. Am I right?
That is correct.
And are you asking, are you moving that be the recommendation?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, but, yeah.
Okay, and so you're second, and now I've got a second, so now we're open for discussion, and I apologize in the structure and the way we went. Now, for you, Mr. Williams, who's still got the floor, if you wish to amend that to something else, then certainly this is the time.
so can I just restate my motion?
You may.
I move that we appoint the 6 commissioners who are seeking positions to the 6 remaining seats.
Second.
Wait.
Are the 6 people on 10 that are commissioners? How many commissioners are on the list of 10?
Commissioner Cassidy has removed his name, so there are 6 remaining.
6
Now,
commissioners looking for 6 positions.
There are 6 positions, and there are 6 commissioners. My question to you is, everything else about the motion stays. 9-member committee, and 3 members we named on that committee, and adding the 6 commissioners. That's your motion.
That's my motion.
And do we have a second?
We do.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, point of order. We had a motion from Mr. Randolph. We had a second from Mr. Cassidy. Are you amending the original motion?
Sure, well, I'll put that in the form of amendment so that we can simplify this
Sorry,
process.
Mr. Chairman,
No,
I know my job's
that's the way I
parliamentarian.
accept it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just
so
want
we
to.
have an amendment now.
Now it's amendment.
All right, and so now we're going to speak. We've got a motion and a second, an amendment and a second. We're going to speak at this point on the amendment. So at this point, do you want to do that in the order? In other words, Mr. Sandlin, you're recognized next, but we must talk about the amendment, not the original motion. Do you want to address that, sir?
Well, I thought there were 7 commissioners on the list, and I was going to say, let's just make all 7 the commissioners. I did not know Mr. Caston had removed his name, so I'm at peace with what's going on.
Okay, Commissioner Randolph.
Well, I didn't get a chance to finish a few minutes ago. The reason that there were changes on this list up until we walked out the door, so I apologize that everybody didn't get a list of these names because we didn't really have a total list of these names until we came out. So I get it. You don't know who they are. I mean, I read them all, but I don't even know who all they are. But there are 6 commissioners, and then there are some people at large. And that is basically what we're trying to do, is figure out who do you want on this committee. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Randolph. Again, we're on the amendment. Does anybody, Commissioner Rogers? No. You want to speak?
Well, I do have a question now on the amendment because are we going to vote for 6 people, every person on the commission? Name 6 people you want to vote for? Everybody's going to do that? Is that
The motion on the floor is that those 6 members be appointed, the 6 commissioners, all at one time. We finish.
Okay. So you got 10 people. Okay. I'm good now.
Mr. Chairman, did you just pass my name for a reason? I'm sorry? Mr. Miles? No, sir, I did not. I apologize.
Since we've got so much confusion going on, is this something that's got to be ruled on tonight? I've got 3 or 4 questions, so don't leave me.
As quick as possible. I guess that's an answer, and it's probably not a very good one, but we have to do this. Mr. Mayor, if you want to address this, we have to do this before December, is my understanding. So where are we with the census? Where is that as far as being able to have the numbers and apply them to the map?
Word is we're going to be getting the census data in August. I think the more time you can give the committee to work, the better off you're going to be, because it's a time-consuming thing. End of August, okay. Well, there's all kinds of conflicting dates out there, so, but we think sometime in August. So Worst-case scenario would be, you'd have to do it no later than the next commission meeting, but the longer you can give this group to start working, the better off it'll be.
So we have to have an answer and decision by the end of August. That's what I just heard to answer. Does that answer your question?
By the end of August.
Yes.
Not the
So,
end of July.
yeah, the question would be, if you want to put it off, this is July, August would have to be, and then they would only have a limited amount of time to function.
Well, I'm not through.
Okay.
Just trying to clear up some of the confusion. I've got a lot of calls on this particular subject. How we're going to handle it, which way we're going to go. If we go with the Commissioner Williams's, we have put out there that we wanted at-large people, and those people came and brought their names forward. And what do we do about that? They did what we asked them to do. So if we vote 6 commissioners, we're just, I guess, bypassing those group of people. And I've got one in particular in mind that I'm speaking for. Just wonder what we're going to do with that.
Well, if this motion passes, then the 6 committee members will be appointed.
Okay.
So this is the time to vote against that if that's not what you want. If you don't want those filled by the 6 commissioners, then you would vote no on this motion. That'll carry us back to the original, and if someone else wants to make another amendment to that, maybe feel free to do that.
Okay. I do agree with the commissioners. We were voted in by the people, and I think that's where they should come from. That's just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I guess at this point, I'm through. I'll probably have something to comment on the amendment or whatever. Thank you, Mr. Atwood.
Oh, thank you, very kindly. Okay, I went to you, I've been to Commissioner Rogers. According to what I'm seeing now, we're at Jordan. Would that be correct, Mr. Clerk?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Dodgy bullets.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have concerns about this motion because of the 4 citizens, kind of dovetailing off of what Commissioner Moss was just talking about, 4 citizens have put their names forward as well, too. And I can think of one in particular that has an excellent amount of experience for something like this, and former Commissioner Duncan. He's got a lot of experience. He's been part of the process a decade ago as well. But that being said, I'm curious to what the other 3 citizen names are before I can vote for a motion like this.
All right, the names I've got are Bob Duncan, Bruce Bailey, Tyler Asher, Ron Chaffin. Those are the non-commissioned folks whose names have been put forward. Okay, did that answer you?
It did, yes, thank you.
Then I'm looking at Commissioner Martin.
Yes, I hear a lot of concerns on this tonight and a little bit of confusion. And for those that are non-commissioners, I've had calls asking me to consider their name. I was not prepared tonight to do this. We've got a motion on the floor, and I'll vote on it. But it's come kind of sudden, and I understand, Randy, we need to move on. I understand that. But we're asking our commissioners to vote on something they were not necessarily prepared to vote on. I think they need to take this with them and have the decision ready for the next meeting. That's my opinion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Wilson.
As a commissioner and those that want to be on this committee, I applaud your extracurricular activities. It's my understanding that, Mayor, you don't want more than 9. Is that accurate?
I mean, Commissioner Wilson, it just came last month. Commissioner Randolph, who's chairman, nominated and asked me to go back and look and see what was done in 2010. In 2010, they had 15 people on it, which we all discussed inside nominating, and it was decided that was too many. So it was kind of decided it'd be 9 coming out of committee last month. It came to the commission. There was no opposition to that, and then I think in the meantime, there's been all this came up, in the last few days.
Well, I
So-
certainly don't want to add more work, but I do think somebody at large needs to be on there, and it needs to be an odd number. That's just my personal opinion. Besides the 6 commissioners, if they get voted in, don't know that I want to make that into a motion necessarily, but I do want to discuss it as to, if you take that number to 11, which 15 is a great number, Mr. Mayor, I'm in agreement with that. And I'm not trying to add more to it, but I do think if we've got a couple of at-large that has shown extreme interest in this, needs to be considered.
Is that in the form of an amendment? Because it will need to be, our motion is that there be 9 members. That's what we're debating now. So we can take 2 amendments on each motion. Are you wanting to make that in the form of an amendment?
Yes, I am.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second that we move the number of the committee members to 11. Is there any discussion on that amendment? That's where we are. Mr. Bennett, did you want to talk or address to that amendment?
It'll probably go along with that as well.
Okay.
Maybe someone can answer, why would we want to exclude the general public from being on the committee? Why would we want to lock it into just county commissioners? And I know nothing about redistricting, so if someone could address that, why we would or would not want to lock it into county commissioners.
I don't know that anybody wants to do that. It was just recommended that there be 9 members because it was an odd number, and it just happened to be 6 additional commissioners, and some commissioners want them to all be commissioners. So I don't think there's any opposition to having them, but the consensus in some commissioners' minds that they all should be made up, except for the 3 that of course I am a commissioner, but the election administrator, which generally is always a part of that committee. And I think I'm just going to speak for myself, I think we would be speaking the wrong message to the city of Cookeville to ask them to give us a name and then say we're not going to use him. Now, that's just my feeling, but if you want to change that, certainly that's all part of what we're talking about, okay?
Okay, let me rephrase the question.
Okay?
What is the benefit of having only commissioners on here versus the benefit of having some people at large?
Don't think there is any personally. It might be an advantage to that commissioner because certainly he's going to be affecting his own district.
Okay.
So, but I don't know of any advantage to answer your question. If anybody else, I don't have to answer all these, but that's just my thoughts. So feel free.
Well,
That help?
I agree with Mr. Wilson. I think we need some people that are not on the commission to be on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly. All right, let me see where I'm at. Jordan?
Yeah.
And we're speaking to the amendment now to increase the number to 11.
Right, all I was going to do was make the very same motion Commissioner Wilson made, so that's the only reason why I requested to speak again.
Okay. That takes us to Mr. Williams.
I have absolutely no problem with people at large being on this committee. If we're going to take it to 11, there's only 13 names that have been submitted total. If you'd be willing to either change your amendment or accept a substitute, we can just put everybody who submitted their name on the list and be done with it. We've got we've got all the commissioners interested. We've got the people at large interested. It's smaller than 15 members, and let's just not have any real conflict and just get on with it.
Let me address that if I can. What's going to happen if you do that? And again, I'm not going one side or the other. Unless you do that, there is going to be a vote. And with that vote, there could be the exception of a commissioner. You follow what I'm saying? Once you started a vote, I'm not sure how you can eliminate folks. Everybody that's on the list, if you're going to allow that, would go into the pool and then be voted. Am I making sense? And
I'm just saying put everybody on it whose name's on this list.
And I've heard that. And again, we've got 2 amendments. That's as far as I can go with this motion, is those 2 amendments. And unless Commissioner Wilson is willing to change his amendment, then we can't accept another one in this. I know this is getting complicated. I hope I'm being clear. If I'm not, give me this so I can go deeper. If I understand. And do you want to make that change from 11 to 13 and put everybody who's asked to be on, or just increase the number? That's a question to you, Mr. Wilson, because it was your amendment.
I'm okay raising to 13. but no more, obviously. I mean, I want to go lower every time because I want it to be numbered, but at the same time, we have to have that odd number. I prefer to stay at 11. That's my preference, okay? Because I think too much muddies the water. So let me clarify where I stand. My stance is I want to stay at 11. That's my stance. I would like to go to 13, but I'm not going to. That's my motion.
All right, then I'm going to have to go with that amendment. And that amendment is that we increase the number to 11. If it passes, that's where we'll go. If it fails, then someone is allowed to, at that point, make another amendment to put 13. If you follow, but we can only have 2 amendments per motion. That's Robert's rules. So I'm asking if you're firm in your amendment, is there any more discussion about increasing the number to 11? So Commissioner Reel, is that where you want to go?
Well, I don't have a problem with it being 11, but my problem is if there was 15 on there last time and you thought there was a problem, I know some people personally that was on there, and I didn't know there was a problem. But you wanted to cut it to 9. Okay, but we're going from 15 to 11. So what are we doing now, 11?
Well, that's where we're in discussion over that amendment right now. That's where we are. Did you have anything else? All right, Mr. Rogers.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. So we have 10 names. We have 3 we know, or kinda. We have 8 more to appoint. So when you start, if this motion passes, then everybody on this board, this commission, has to submit 8 names. Is that the way I understand?
If we go to 11,
Yes.
that would be correct.
Have mercy.
We
Okay.
would vote on the first 8
Okay. I'm good.
to go along with the present 3. Now, again, all those things are up to amendments, but that's where we are. We're on an amendment that increases the number to 11. Does everybody understand that? Everybody with me? All right, then, let's see if we can do it with voice. If you favor the motion to increase, Mr. Moss.
Are you going to be able to give us a list, or are you just going to call out a name?
No. All will be presented at one time, and then we'll go all the way around the room, and you'll vote for 8. And the first 8 that get 13 votes will be your committee.
I don't have a list.
You will be supplied with a list of, is there 10 or 11, whatever the addition is. Okay. Of which 6 are commissioners and the others are not. All right, we're on the 11 votes.
Explain that again.
Absolutely. Folks, we're fixing to get some complicated because we've got 2 amendments. What you do is you vote the amendments first and then you apply them until you get to the original motion as amended. Right now, the only vote in what you're going to be voting for, do you want the committee to be 11 members, not 9?
I was asking, how are we going to do 11 out of the 8? What Ben was talking about, 8 and 3. How are we going to get those 8 people? Are we going to vote
There are 10.
10 times?
There are 10 that will be left. There's 3 right now, according to the original motion, that we're already establishing. So there's 3, if all this passes, the election administrator, John Ward from the city, and the chairman of the county commission. If we go to 11, then there's what? 8 folks to vote out of 10. You will be given a list of 10. Each commissioner then will vote only for 8. So we're going to eliminate 2 as the vote goes, whoever gets the least amount of votes until you have 8 that have 13 votes.
Wow. I beg Mr. Wilson to change your amendment to make it 13 because, what's the difference in 11 and 13 what's the difference in 9 and 11, 11 and 13? We got 13 people that want to do it, let's go.
Okay, let me say this to you, Mr. Wilson, and to the rest of you, okay? If that's where you want to go, a no vote here gives you the opportunity to amend it to 13. And that's up to Mr. Wilson if he wants to change. If he does not, then the amendment stands as he's made it. You still,
I'm stuck at 11.
he's stuck at 11, so we're going to vote on 11. If you don't like it, you want 13, vote no. Okay? But we're voting for 11. And is everybody clear on 11? That's all. Right now, we're just on the amendment. Okay? If you favor the amendment, vote yes. Those, and we're going to do it voice. I'll take it by voice. If you favor the amendment up to 11, vote yes.
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 Call the roll, Mr. Clerk.
All right, here we go. Take your handsets. If you favor the motion of 11, vote yes. If you do not favor that motion of 11, vote no. Everybody got it? All votes are in. Anybody wish to change their vote anywhere? Anybody unclear? Here we go. Hang on. All right, Mr. Chairman, according to tonight's vote, there's 10 votes yes, 14 votes no. The amendment failed.
All right, I'm going to move to the First Amendment unless somebody wants to amend something else. Yes, Mr. Williams?
My second amendment then would be to add all 13 names, expand the committee to 13, and to appoint the 13 names submitted. I guess we can do it by acclamation.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Another amendment. We're going to 13, folks. The amendment is that we move the committee to 13 and that all those who have been placed, to be frank with you, we got to open this up to the floor. If anybody else wants to name or put a name on here, which complicates it even more. But I've got an amendment to go to 13 and to appoint these folks on the list. Does everybody understand that amendment? Acknowledge me, folks. I want to make sure everybody's clear where we're headed. I don't want to vote on something you don't understand. Okay, any discussion? Yes, sir.
Just one question. Why would you have to open it up to other people if we've got a list right here?
Anytime the commission appoints something, it always has to be open to the floor to receive nominations from the floor. But it has to be a commissioner who makes those nominations. In other words, it has to be a member of the
Curious why
body.
you couldn't stick with this list here.
In order to be right, we have to give others the opportunity if they want to add names. Okay, I've got is that good for you, Mr. Chairman? I've got an amendment on the floor that we move the numbers to 13. Any other discussion or questions? We're going to try a voice. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. I believe I heard enough to call that the motion to carry. If anybody wants a roll call, I'll be happy to call for it, but I believe we had a majority at least of those. We're to 13 members, which moves us now to the First Amendment, which is kind of moot, to be quite frank with you. So the amendment, help me, Mr. Jones, do we even have to consider now the First Amendment, or is it because it was to appoint the six commissioners? We've just done that with the Second Amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I'll withdraw that. I made that amendment to begin with, so I'll withdraw that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, so we're back to the original motion as amended. Everybody understand? Which means the motion now is exactly what we just voted on. This committee will be established with 13 members. Those members will consist of the three people we talked about, the election administrator, John Ward, and the chair of the commission. Added to that will be the 10 members on this list. Has everybody now got a list? I saw them being handed out, so you recognize now who that is. Commissioner Cassidy removed his name. Jordan removed his name. So now we're looking at, like I said, 10 names. Are we clear? You've got 3. We're making the motion now is that the committee be established with these 13 people. Any discussion? Okay.
I would like to say something, and I know we're dragging this to no end. But last month, we made a decision out of the nominating committee to have somebody from Monterey, Baxter, and Allgood. And you got no response from them, and you spoke to these 3 cities, right?
I sent emails out to each one of the cities. Cookville responded, all good. The mayor's mother's real sick, and they said that they didn't have anybody to present, that the commission could do what they wanted to. Monterey said they couldn't come up with anybody, but the mayor said if you couldn't find anybody and you wanted to put him on, you could. And I didn't hear from Mayor Martin, although I heard secondhand that they didn't have anybody they wanted to put.
Well, and so when we left here last month, we were in thinking, okay, so there would be only 3 slots open unless they called and gave Mr. Randolph the names. So I had several people to say, well, we only have 3 openings for this position. So they said, well, there's no use in me putting my name on this list. So I think it's a little bit unfair to certain other people that might have wanted to been on this committee when we left last month thinking there was only 3 positions left to be appointed. And that's just where I want to go tonight. Now we went from cutting our committee to 15 to 13, and it's just mind-blowing to me that I think it's unfair to the citizens that might have wanted to been on this committee with us understanding there was only 3 openings.
It has nothing to do with me.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Any other comments to be made? You know what you're voting on? All right, talk to me, girl.
So, as a commissioner, there's nobody representing Monterey or Allgood or none of those districts, right? Or some of these people, like, will some of these people be different, but Monterey will have nobody?
Well, that was Monterey's choice. I mean, they were given the
I
opportunity.
wish I knew that because I would have stood up and spoke. Yeah, and put my name in there because I think they all should be, represented.
Chairman, make sure everybody's clear on this redistricting committee. You're not going to be changing the city limits of Monterey, okay? You're not going to be changing the city limits of Cookville or Allgood or Baxter. The only thing that's going to be affected is going to be the county commissioner districts and the school board districts. Am I right, Mr. Rogers?
Redistricting is all about reapportioning the citizens of the county to have the same amount of people in each district. So the District 1 doesn't have 10,000 more people than District 12. So every single district in this county will have the same representation as far as total people. It doesn't matter if you're a registered voter, it doesn't matter if you're an adult or a child. Redistricting or reapportionment, you're reapportioning people into districts to make those districts equally numbered.
The county commissioner districts doesn't stop at the city limits. They cover out through the entire county. Yeah.
And to be frank with you, again, once the census is put into the software, the map spits it out. It gives you equality. Now, the changes that are made, I served on it 10 years ago on that committee. The changes that are made for the first 2 terms I served was a creek bed. When I tried to work my district, it was hard for me to find out where it was. So the changes were made to a road to more identify exactly where it was. Now, that does make change in some population, okay? But that's generally what the changes are and what this committee does. It just reroutes something that is a little confusing to try to make it a little more clear. So that's basically what this committee does.
One more thing, Mr. Chairman. This committee does not make the decision. This full body, it will come back to you just like anything else does, and you will make the final decision. So all they're going to do is the legwork and work with the Election Commission, Mr. Rogers, and let's get it all in the software and bring y'all back a plan, and you can approve it or not or do whatever you want to with it. It'll be up to the commission.
It's Mr. Jordan.
I just want to kind of make a point on that last point as well, too. The only two cities that really have a risk historically of being split is Cookeville and Allgood based on population. When you look at the historical previous decades, the western third of the county usually has a district, the eastern third has a district. So when you look at it, Monterey and Baxter, I mean, things could change with census numbers and everything, but typically Monterey and Baxter don't have a worry as far as being split up or that sort of thing. It's typically the middle of the county is how it's kind of divvied out. So just kind of point it. Now, of course, Chairman, you'll be probably, if you're going to be on this committee, you'll be representing the Allgood area already, so Allgood will have representation there. So you'll have that in a split area potentially, but yeah, the western and the eastern front, so to speak, don't have much of a worry, I don't think.
Well, just to clarify too, what we did last time, 10 years ago, affected District 12 for Kathy and I was on that committee. What happened again when we were a creek bed, the whole city of Allgood was not within the 12th district. In other words, they had to vote on city elections separate because they weren't in precincts that were in Allgood. So the decision was made by this committee to move some of the folks up on Buck Mountain, which at that time was the 12th district, into the 5th district, and then take in the entire Allgood city for convenience. So those people, so that's the kind of decisions that this committee makes. It's for the benefit of the citizenry, okay? And it was a welcome change, in fact. So it equalized the opportunity for everybody in Allgood to vote. That's one of the changes we made 10 years ago. So, all right, I hope anybody else, and I don't want to stop discussion if there's somebody else got a question. Folks, so that you know what we're voting on. We are voting to make the number of the committee to 13. The 3 members that we spoke of be on that, as well as the 10 members left on this list. That's your vote. Everybody got it?
Have we not voted on that already?
No. That's the original. This is now that we did as an amendment, but now we're back to the original motion, and that is the original motion. Okay, everybody good? In favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no? All right, thank you very much. Report of special committees. Any reports, special committees? Any resolutions?
No resolutions.
Well, I bet you got some notes.
Thank the Lord. All right, I do have some notaries. Jennifer Bowling, Mary Catherine Bowling, Annette Burton, Martha Conger, Kathy Dunn, Blake J. Fitzpatrick, Ann Flatt, Daniel L. Garrett, Jennifer Hicks, Heather Jones, Teresa K. Long, Shane Mangrum, Andy Meadows, Nicholas Michelson, Tammy Murdoch, Timothy Parrish, Sabrina Perlongo, R. Stephen Randolph, William F. Robertson Jr., Catherine J. Ty, and last, Holly Warren.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the notaries? Mr. Clerk?
All right, we have to vote on these because it is considered an office. So if you take your handsets, in favor of the motion, just vote yes. Notaries are very important. I'm just going to go ahead and click this and say thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, you have 24 voting yes, 0 no. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Any announcements or statements? Well, excuse me, let's recognize the cash flow. Anybody have any questions about the school cash flow budget for general schools? All right, that'll be placed into the minutes. Any announcements or statements? Let me make one quickly. Thank you. I appreciate, first of all, your attendance to the work session. I think it paid off tonight in some of the decisions you made prior to that. So thanks for your attendance and thanks for being here tonight. Miss Adams. All right. Anyone else have any announcements? Any
Gotcha.
announcements?
Sorry, Cindy.
Or statements?
Thanks for turning your handsets in to me. I
All
appreciate
right,
that
folks.
very, very much.
Yes, Mr. Sandlin.
I'd like to personally thank everybody on the Budget Committee. I know you guys work hours and hours and days, and I think you did an excellent job, and I really, really appreciate the people that served on the Budget Committee and the people that ran it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
Make a
Let's go home. Y'all want to? Stand adjourned.